We really are just like the horniest corner of the internet, aren't we? Hello and welcome back to my YouTube channel. My name is Maddie and we are going to be talking about my favorite subject, smut. If you've been following me for a little bit, I know a lot of you guys have actually come from my smut videos that I've done. I do kind of like quarterly updates and it's April or the end of April. So it's been 4 months of 2024 and I have read 29 books. I have 4 books that I want to talk about today. I honestly this year, like I haven't read a lot of smut. I've read a lot of slow burn romances, which include some spicy scenes, but I haven't picked up a single book and I'm like, oh, I'm reading this because I've heard it's smutty. Like I haven't done that this year. So I don't know, maybe I'm changing. First, we're gonna start off with The Graham Effect. This is a spin-off series. The original series is called Off Campus. There are, I believe, 5 or 6 books in that series. This is the next generation. So the Off Campus's kids. Gigi and Ryder are our main characters. They are both hockey players, which is actually kind of cool. I feel like it's not that typical figure skater hockey player romance like we see in Icebreaker or some of the other hockey romances. There's 2 hockey players in here and they are pretty competitive with each other and with others. So I would call this like a rivals to lovers scenario, not enemies to lovers. I genuinely don't think enemies to lovers applies in contemporary romance, but that's just my opinion. Gigi is Hannah and Garrett's daughter from the first book, The Deal, from the Off-Campus series. Gigi's dad, Garrett, has some popularity. He's a really, really famous hockey player, and Ryder is trying to kind of get in his good graces to get this almost internship with Garrett. Gigi and Ryder kind of create this deal to kind of help each other out in a way, and it creates this friends with benefits scenario. They're very, very attracted to each other, and you do see that from the first time they meet. It is sizzling chemistry. The spice does happen pretty dang quick in this book, but it is, again, no strings attached until someone catches feelings like usual. Obviously, if you liked the Off-Campus series, I do think you'll love this one. It is a healthier version of the Off-Campus series. I feel like I've talked about this in a few videos, but I think like healthy conversations are becoming really popular in books nowadays. And this one reminded me a lot of Icebreaker by Hannah Grace. So maybe just because it's hockey, I don't know, but I got the same, like there was some tension and some arguing, but it was handled very, very well. So I don't know. I feel like Off-Campus didn't do that, where this one, the communication and everything was pretty dang good. And here are some of the tropes. Rivals to lovers, a really strong female lead, a misunderstood male, grumpy sunshine, sports romance, friends with benefits, secret / like forbidden dating, dual POV. I rated this book 5 stars and I gave it 4 spicy chili peppers. Next, we're gonna chat about Reckless by Elsie Silver. Is that upside down? Okay. I actually just finished this one maybe 2 weeks ago now. This is the 4th book in the Chestnut Spring series. I think I've said this about every single one, but this one was my favorite. We have Theo Silva, who is a famous rodeo bull rider. I don't really pay attention to the sport aspect of these books. Then we also have Winter Hamilton, who is the sister of the girl in the first book. And Winter and Theo end up having this immediate connection and a one-night stand. I don't want to say much more about this book because I could really spoil some stuff. I went into it completely blind and I loved it that way, but I was heartbroken by this one. My heart just hurt so bad for Theo and the scenario that he was kind of put in. Theo is a kind of that playboy energy, golden retriever, but he's wanting and really ready to change his ways and settle down with Winter. She is not wanting to settle down. She recently got out of a terrible divorce situation. So there is a little bit of a time jump in this one as well, which was not expecting, but I loved it. Not to compare to Sarah J. Maas, but Winter is Nesta. Like, Winter is Nesta. She's a bitch. No one really likes her. But, like, she's so much more than that. She's such a deep character, like a deep well of just emotion. She's just never had someone to open up with or be herself around. She's always had to be on guard and she's always observing until Theo. The spice in this one just seemed so similar to them, like fiery, but also warm and gentle and sweet. Like there was so many good smutty scenes and like different locations too, if you know what I mean. Just like kind of all over the place. Like the spice was very natural. It didn't seem like it was just thrown in, you know? But it was hot and it was exactly what they needed. It felt like way denser than it was. Like you got so much out of this short little book and these characters will forever stay in my heart. Okay. Some tropes in this book: reverse grumpy sunshine, golden retriever male, he falls first, small town, sports-ish romance, and a one-night stand. And I don't want to say any more tropes because again, I went into it blind and I feel like it was way better that way, so I don't want to spoil anything. Also rated this book 5 out of 5 stars. I would give the spice like a 3.5 chili peppers. I've talked about it so much recently, I feel like, but it is gonna make it in the top 5 books this year. I'm obsessed. Heat of the Everflame by Penn Cole. This is the 3rd book, but this is when the spice begins. Look at this brick of a book. Like my head, wow, it's huge. It's huge. And I'm so excited for book 4. That comes out in June. I'm not ready. I'm scared. I started reading this series back in early March. It is about Diem and Luther. I've talked about it in so many other videos. Like go watch those if you really want a full plot summary, everything like that. But we're just talking about the smut and the spice, the tension, all of the fun stuff. This is quite literally the slowest slow burn series you will ever read. Ever. This is book 3 and we get like 2 spicy scenes, but there is tension on every single page in the interactions between Luther and Diem. When they're together, you cannot get enough. I'm like rereading the page when they're together. Butterflies when I see these two in the same room together. I cannot describe the amount of times I was drooling over Luther and his words and the way he speaks to Diem and talks about Diem and just their communication. Actually, their communication was kind of shit, but it gets better. The highlightable quotes. Luther just has a way with words. Again, this one isn't the spiciest book ever or series ever. This is book 3, so you kind of have to read book 1, 2, and 3 to kind of get a feel for the characters and the tension that I'm talking about. But when the spicy stuff does happen, it's so rewarding and worth it because you've come so far. You've seen the attraction and how like ignitable the attraction is, but these 2 characters are just like holding off and holding off and holding off. It's like edging at its worst. Some tropes in this one: the chosen one trope, touch her and you die, possessiveness, wittiness and banter, and elemental magic, like if you're really into the fantasy stuff, which I am. I gave this book 4 out of 5 stars, and I actually would give the spice like 2 chili peppers out of 5 because there's not a lot of it. If you like spice, it's still great. It's just not an erotic book. You're not going into it getting smut and spice on every single page. It's definitely slow, like it drags out, but in the best possible way. I read this book, Bride by Ali Hazelwood, this month, so it's still kind of fresh in my brain. Misery and Lo. Lo is a werewolf, Misery is a vampire. They live in a politically divided world between humans, vampires, and werewolves. To keep the peace between these 3 communities, the 3 species agree on collateral, which ends up being people. So like Misery is sent to the werewolf world as a vampire to kind of keep the peace. Like if anything happens, like if anything were to happen, Misery would die. So it's kind of fucked up. Misery and Lo were forced to get married to kind of keep the peace between the species. I don't want this to sound mean, but I don't necessarily think Ali Hazelwood has the most unique stories, but dang, do they suck you in. Since this isn't Ali Hazelwood's like main genre, she did a wonderful job in it, but I wasn't going into this book expecting like a huge world building, like fantasy plot. Like I wasn't expecting that, and I'm glad I didn't. It honestly doesn't need much world building. Like the politics were simple and the plot was pretty predictable, but it was oh so fun. I don't want to talk about my main thoughts. That'll come in my April wrap up. But I wish we got more of Misery, kind of exploring the werewolf world. We didn't get a lot of that. But again, it's not about that. It's about the smut. You gotta talk about the smut. One of my favorite parts about this book is the start of every chapter is a little snippet, like the little chapter intro is a little snippet from Lo's POV. So Misery's POV is the whole book, and you get these tiny little snippets of Lo and his thoughts, and he is obsessed with Misery, pining so hard, and she has no idea, which I really liked. I love it when there's just like a man who's obsessed. Like that obsession. It's so good. Let's talk about some tropes. You've got forced proximity, arranged marriage, paranormal romance, and mating bonds. I guess like enemies to lovers, but not really. Forbidden love, found family. The found family in this one is so dang cute. I just don't go into this thinking you're gonna get like high quality fantasy. That's not the point of this. It's a romance. But if you go in with an open mind, you'll have a fun time. I gave this book 4 out of 5 stars, and I'm giving the spice a 3 because the spice doesn't happen till later in the book. Actually, way later. But when it does happen, it's spicy. It's Allie Hazelwood spicy. You're getting a lot in there. I don't know, you just can't not have fun. You catch my drift. Okay, that is it for this video. I know it wasn't a ton of books to talk about, but I feel like you guys just want some spice. We really are just like the horniest corner of the internet, aren't we? All of my social media is linked down below. Please give this video a like and go ahead and comment down below which book you've read or which book you're looking forward to reading. I'll see you guys in the next video.